Summertime is heating up at Global Voice Broadcasting. Hot music, hot talk, and hot topics. All day, every day, 24/7. You don't want to miss a minute on Global Voice Broadcasting. Welcome to the world of Cabaret, the world where Broadway, jazz, comedy, and pop share the spotlight. And a 2-drink minimum with your host, producer, director, Clifford Bell, keeping the world safe for live performances in intimate settings on Global Voice Broadcasting.
And welcome back to Cabaret at Global Voice Broadcasting. If you're just joining us here, Cabaret is the weekly rumination on the art of live entertainment in intimate settings. And this week, I'm very excited because I have one of my very favorite subject matters with one of my very favorite guests. I have Miss Joanne Tatham in the studio with us today. Hi, Joanne.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
To introduce you to Joanne, I'd like to play a little clip so you get a sense of who I'm talking to today.
Moments like this make me thrill through and through. Careless moments like this close to you. Nonchalantly we dine and we dance, yet my heart seems to melt in your glance. Sweet moments like this, with soft lights aglow, make me long for your kiss. Though I know I'd be just one of all your affairs, but at moments like this, who cares?
Moments like this. Yes, that's always one of my favorite songs that you do. Welcome, Joanne.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to have you here.
I'm so glad to be here.
You know, you were one of the very first people that encouraged me to do this, so it's very special to me to have you here as my guest finally.
It's very special to me. I think you're doing a wonderful job. I think this is a great. I've seen a couple, and they're really great.
You know, it's very excited. You've already made an appearance on every program so far, because I think I found out on the first day that we did this that we got your booking at the CAFE CARLYLE, your brand new show, Soundtrack New York. Music from movies made in Manhattan is going to make its debut at the CAFE CARLYLE. Congratulations.
It is. Thank you. I'm very excited. This is the first time I'm going into the CARLYLE, and it's such a wonderful room with such a rich history.
So for people that don't know much about you, you're originally from New York, yes?
I am. I was born in New Jersey, and I went to school in Connecticut and then upstate, and then I lived in Manhattan on the Upper West Side for many, many years.
Now, a lot of us know you as having more of a presence in L.A. for the last 10 years or so, but just this last year you've been in New York more and more. So I have a series of pictures here that I want to help you tell people of what they are. First of all, we've got the promo shot for the Soundtrack New York show. You got that, Gabe? Oh, there you go.
Yep, there it is, Soundtrack New York.
And then pictures. We got a couple pictures here from
I first did Soundtrack at the Metropolitan Room in New York. I think we had one in May. I thought that it would be really fitting to open this show, debut it in New York. So we did 2 dates at the Metropolitan Room in New York. Right.
And go ahead, Gabe. Let's see. That's there you are with the
Julie
great
Wilson.
Julie
The
Wilson.
wonderful Julie Wilson was at one of those Metropolitan Rooms. She has been so supportive. I don't think she's missed a show of mine.
And
New
this
York.
is with KT?
Oh, with KT Sullivan. I had the wonderful opportunity to, KT asked me to perform in a Mabel Mercer Foundation event, which was at Urban Stages, paying tribute to the great Blue Angel, one of the
Right.
clubs from the heyday of
You
club
got
singing.
amazing reviews
Oh,
for
this was
that.
a wonderful day. While I was there, Elizabeth Sullivan, who is, of course, the matriarch of the Sullivan family, KT's mom, Stacy's mom, Heather, and the gang, she did a show at the Oak Room. It was a brunch show, and it was just wonderful. And a bunch of us happened to be there. I was sitting with Andrea, and Julie was there.
The great ladies of the cabaret.
That's right. It was just a great day.
So going on. Oh, and that's
Oh,
Ted.
Ted, the most magnificent Ted Firth, who is my musical director on this show, did it the first time with me. Will do it the second weekend, October
Right.
11 and 10 and 11 in New York with me at the Carlyle.
Right.
Stacy,
and our
as I was
beloved
saying. That's
Stacey
Stacy
Sullivan,
Sullivan,
sweetest
a
woman.
dear, dear, dear friend. She was out here in L.A., of course, as you know, for many years, while her family was growing up, and we really bonded out here, and now she's back in New York.
And she was at our very first performance about a year ago when we were still just workshopping the
Yeah.
first 20 minutes
She's
of the
a
idea.
very dear friend.
She drove from Long
That's
Beach.
right, the
remember?
one in the in North Hollywood.
In North Hollywood. She came from Long Beach
She is
that night.
one of
That
my
was
dearest
so
friends.
Sweet. And then I think this is the backside of the
Right.
postcard.
Yeah.
Such a great graphic, obviously modeled on the famous Audrey Hepburn.
That's the
Breakfast
idea,
at
and we went this time with the Tiffany blue.
Tiffany Blue.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. So let's talk a little bit about your background. You mentioned that you grew up in New Jersey and went to school in Connecticut, and then what brought you to Los Angeles?
A man.
One of them.
Yes, it
Oy.
was Chuck Tatham, who writes and produces television shows, sitcoms,
Yes.
and so you got to be out here to do that.
Yes, indeed. And then I first became aware of you. People are hearing bits and pieces of my history over the course of these shows, but I used to do a lot of shows at the CINEGRILL at the Hollywood Roosevelt. And we started doing something called the CINEGRILL Spotlight in early 2000. And one of the very first guests, right at the beginning of the year of 2001, J.D.KESSLER, the man who formerly ran the room at the CINEGRILL, said, I've just seen this wonderful girl. She's been coming in and been performing, and you've got to use her in one of the shows. So, Gabe, can you hit us with that next photograph? I think we have there it is.
Oh,
that was
yeah.
one of the early things that Michael Erlin was the host of those evenings.
Back when headshots were black and white.
And
That was
headshots
my
were
first
black and
headshot in
white.
many, many
Na-
years.
And then over the course of the years,
sweet
many years
Lou.
later, when the CINEGRILL changed from being the CINEGRILL and a new room was built and it became a Feinstein's, actually Joanne was one of the first people that performed in that room in the crossover, and that was from that night.
That was the Jimmy Van Heusen show.
Right, and that was
Chester.
the great
And that was a great
songwriter,
Lou Spence.
Lou Spence. This is you with Jack Jones.
Yes, Jack Jones. That was in Palm Springs, Indian Wells, actually. I have been regularly going out and sitting in with the Desert Cities Jazz Band
Right.
every season, and he was there.
And I think that's how
and that's
Lyndon
Hal Linden,
comes
who
in,
plays.
right?
Yes, in addition to his many other talents, he can blow a wonderful clarinet, and he often sits in with the Desert Cities Jazz Band.
So it was during these few years that I was always aware of Joanne performing and was always so impressed by her class and her taste. She has exquisite taste and always did things so beautifully. And then she released that album. Give me that shot one more time. She released this beautifully produced album called Making Light, and that was the first time that I really perked up and said, wow, well, this girl's serious. She's doing this thing. And then I think we crossed paths next. We were at the Annenberg.
We did. Todd and I were on a bill.
On the same bill, and
right,
I was producing
at the Annenberg
Todd.
Theater in Palm Springs.
Yeah, Les Michaels brought
Yes.
everybody out to Palm Springs, and I was directing Todd's portion of the show, and Joanne was there.
Yes.
And it was the first time that we sort of maybe we should let's talk when we get back to
We started dancing
LA.
around each other, yeah.
So it was a little later, the next year, frankly, that we had our first lunch and said, let's do something.
I won't question you because you're
It
the
wasn't
man
our
with the
first
dates.
lunch, but it was the first time that we said, let's do something together. And our first show together was built around a collaboration you were working on with Clarence McDonald, the great jazz pianist Clarence McDonald. And we did our first show at Catalina's, which that is the poster from.
We did a little thing at M-Bar first.
Yes.
We got stuff on
Yes,
its feet, and
that's true.
very quickly we were at Catalina's.
Yeah, we actually had done little things at Maskers, and you had come and sung at
That's
the
true.
CINEGRILL. So we had played around, but our first, like, let's conceive a show and make pictures and blah, blah, blah happened then. So, which brings us to our subject matter of At the Corner of Jazz and Cabaret. Actually, you know, I think that you really probably were the person that I've gone furthest into that conversation with, because I come from a far more musical theater-y, Broadway version, the Great American Songbook angle of the cabaret world, and it was working with you that introduced me more to the jazz sensibility and jazz musicians and jazz repertoire. So I wanted to talk to you about that. Welcome aboard.
Okay.
Tell me about
What do you want to know?
Tell me about the song that kind of represents the cross section to you. The meeting
Oh, I
point.
know what you're talking about. Well, I think you have a clip. I have a soft spot for this this tune, You Taught My Heart to Sing. It's a McCoy Tyner composition with lyrics by Sammy Kahn. And for me, this just sits right on the line. It straddles the line, as I think I do. Great American Songbook and jazz. McCoy Tyner, of course, a giant in jazz. And Sammy Kahn, who is really one of the fathers of the Great American Songbook. And they collaborated on this particular tune, which has been recorded by Diane Reeves and really great people. And it's just a wonderful song that I love to sing. And I think I'm going to be recording on my next album.
So let's take a listen to that.
We meet and it begins. The sound of violins, the sound of birds high on the wing. You taught my heart to sing. Why does this heart of mine feel like a valentine? You smile and suddenly it's spring. You taught my heart to see. My heart was an empty shell. Then you came along.
Beautiful. I love that song.
I do too.
So beautiful. Once again, one you introduced me to. So that was an exciting night. Let's see, we have some pictures. I think this first picture is of you with Clarence McDonald and Ray Parker Jr. Now, how do you
Yes.
come to know Ray Parker Jr.?
We had the same record distributor at one time, and
I know he's been around a couple things
he is
that
a
we've done.
wonderful guy, and a wonderful guitar player. I mean, he's a rock star,
Right.
basically a guitar hero, and also a wonderful player, just a wonderful musician, and often does session things around town. And we have children the same age. We play each other actually in football,
That's
and so
funny.
I'll run into him every once in a while. And he came in and he sat in on a great Bill Withers tune that we did, right?
Great. Now hold on for just a second, Gabe. So right after we did that Catalina's one, we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do next, and we had the most interesting conversation to me. We were at Catalina's seeing somebody's show, and just having dinner, and you had said that one of the happiest times you'd ever done a live show was you had taken a series of dates at the Gardenia, and you didn't saddle yourself with a theme, and you didn't saddle yourself with a desire to fill the house, and it wasn't about promoting it and all that stuff. You wanted to just have a comfortable, casual night where you sang songs that you liked with no premise or related concept or whatever. And you said it was one of the most gratifying things you'd ever done. So I said, well, let's do that. That sounds
Yeah.
interesting. So in July of a couple of years ago now, I guess it was in 2010, we did this summer project. And from that, we started to get a new repertoire together, which then became shows that we took to Feinstein's.
It was a wonderful process
Yeah.
for us, stripping away the pressure of showmanship and having
Right.
themes and shows and having to bring it in marketing and bringing in large
Right.
groups of people. I'll tell you, there's a difference between that type of show that we usually do,
Right.
which is it's a listening thing. You want to do in a listening room. It's a concert or a cabaret or whatever you want to call it. I've often had the experience of also doing sets, sitting in and doing sets, which is more, I guess, the jazz end of the
Yeah, that's a
spectrum, where
jazz
people
model.
will speak and people will talk. And I know there are some singers and producers and people who don't
I
like
can't
that.
bear
I
it.
know, and it can get to be too much. But I'll tell you something, I don't really mind it a bit, because it gives me the chance to work on some material, a lower stakes, kind of work on some material and
Right.
see how people are reacting to it. And I mean, if people stop talking, over their drinks while you're singing,
All the
you're
better.
onto something.
I can't. I have a coronary if somebody whispers
It's like,
during
oh.
a show. I'm like, I march back like the Nazi. And
But
be
it is
quiet.
freeing. There's something freeing about that frees the creative process up for
Yeah.
me, and allowed me to really experiment with different things that I wouldn't have, and then it wound up coming
And
into a
interestingly
show.
enough, the more eclectic that we allowed ourselves to be, like, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this, that when we did decide to put it all together in a show, it really made a great, beautiful show
It all
that
really hung together pretty well,
complemented
weirdly.
Yeah. Another thing that was introduced to us during this time period is the great Eli Brueggemann. We encountered our
Yes,
friend Eli.
Sure, Eli was based in L.A. at the time, and he's a wonderful jazz musician, very inventive, wonderful arrangements, and bringing him on board really did a
Yes.
lot to the alchemy of what we were up to.
So then we went to Feinstein's and played Feinstein's for
Oh,
the
I
first
love that
time.
picture. What a thrill to see
The marquee.
one's picture
They do
on
nice
the
marquees
marquee.
at the
Yeah.
Feinstein's. And then let's see, we did a couple band shots here.
That
That's
was a good
Sean
group.
Harkness, who's still in the
Sean
band.
Harkness on guitar, who will be with me in New York.
And then that's in the lobby of the Regency. And then a year later, we went back to the Feinsteins. During this period of time, Eli got a very plum job as
Yeah,
the
whatever happened
musical
to him?
director of Saturday Night Live. Out of the blue, they called him and hired him to be the composer,
Right.
arranger on Saturday Night Live.
And
but he
even
still
with
did
that
our,
going
he
on, he
still
still
did
came
our gig
and did this gig.
This was the second
This was
one.
the one with the Christmas
Yeah.
album, right? Yes.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I had this situation where I had been asked to record a Christmas
Yes.
tune for a corporate client of mine, and Mellon Bank used to put together these compilations, and they
Right.
wanted a Christmas tune for me because they were putting together a compilation, and he had a specific idea of what he wanted me to record, and I did, and I figured, well, I'm in the studio anyway, so I recorded 3 additional, so I had 4, and it was about the time we were going to do the second Feinstein show where I figured, why don't I just
And
finish
boy,
that
and howdy.
CD, and we pulled it together. Now, I have to say this because, again, a lot of singers are coerced by their labels into making a Christmas album and they don't want to. They kicking and screaming. I love Christmas albums. I am a real connoisseur of Christmas albums.
Now we'll be back.
Know.
We'll come back to your Christmas
Okay.
album because we're actually going to play a little cut from it in a little bit. The next two pictures I just wanted to include because they're fun of us. We did a photo session with my favorite photographer, Raquel Crelly, and from that's so gangster. I love those pictures. So while we're at the conversation of Eli had just gotten the Saturday Night Live band, the Saturday Night Live gig, we did our second stint in the holidays at Feinstein's at the Loews Regency, and we have a clip from it. Joanne singing. I think it was the opening, wasn't it? It wasn't music?
Oh
music?
yes,
yeah.
This is the opening.
We opened with Anne Hampton Callaway's Music.
Where do I begin to find the words that never speak my mind? I look at you and I am blinded by music. You'd laugh at all the thousand ways I've tried to find to sing your praise. I think it's gonna take me days and days of music. Can you feel it start with the rhythm of my heart? It keeps on beating the song of melody. What a thrill! I'm gonna take you to Brazil, and the music will be as happy as you make me. Quoting Shakespeare works for some, but Willie is just too hard to hum. I got a bass, I got a drum, I got music. I've searched in all the 50 states for that term of phrase that celebrates, but nothing can beat these 88s. I got music. When I see your face, my heart begins to race, and I feel the surge of samba start to play. So for all your charms, let the music be my arms. Let the melody lift and carry you away. Oh, we got music tonight. We got Steve Doyle on bass. We got Sean Harkness on guitar. We got on the 88s my musical director, but not just my musical director, the brand new musical director, composer, and on-staff arranger for Saturday Night Live, Mr. Eli Brueggemann, who has brought with him the percussionist from the SNL band, the lovely Valerie Naranjo. All right, let's go. I've learned this from the birds and bees. The truth is built on harmonies. You've ended my soliloquies. Now there's music. Here's my heart, so come on in. The walls come down just like Berlin. Let our great duet begin. Now there's music. Can you feel it start with the rhythm of my heart? It keeps on beating the samba melody. So for all your charms, let the music be my arms. Let the melody lift and carry you
Yay!
Oh, that's It's a happy memory.
Carry you away. I love that so much. All right, so I'm going to take a minute and pay the rent, as we say here. I've learned that the difference between live entertainment in small cabarets and doing an actual podcast is media, which means that I can have advertising, which is very exciting. So I built a couple segments into the show that I call Cabarabian Nights, and this first section is shows that I have coming up that that I've produced and directed that I want you to know about. I do a monthly variety series that I'm calling Here and Now, Clifford Bell Here and Now. I'm hosting it, and every week I have different guests. This coming Saturday, September 14th, my guest is actually going to be Ms. Joanne Tatham. So we're going to just do a little bit of stuff getting ready for the Carlyle, and also maybe even a little rumination on our pal Rick Starr, maybe. We're discussing that. And then on September 26th, we have Beverly Mickens Party Pack. Our podcast a couple weeks ago was a feature on Beverly Mickens and the Party Pack. Stand-up comedy, storytelling, musical guests. It's really wonderful. Check that out. On September 28th, we have the 13th anniversary of what began as the CINEGRILL Spotlight that I mentioned earlier, has now become the Cabaret Spotlight, since the Roosevelt really is no longer a venue anymore. This is going to be a very special. Go back to that last one, if you would, please, Gabe. This is going to be a really amazing night. The gimmick of it this year is I'm going to have all the hosts from several of the most popular reoccurring events around town. I have Beth Lapidus and Mitch Kaplan, who run the Uncabaret at First and Hope. I have Kate Pazakis, who runs Standing Room Only at Rain in the Valley. I have Carrie Kelsey, who does the Singers Open Mic at Tom Rolla's Gardenia. And I have Ryan Black, who does Ryan Black's 88s at Don't Tell Mama, the new Don't Tell Mamas in West Hollywood. And to my knowledge, it's the first time that whole gang has ever been on the same show together. And we're doing it as a benefit for an organization that I started with a good friend of mine, Bells Wordling, who's a very well-known producer and manager around town. Belle and I created this event to help the family of a young girl, this beautiful young girl named Isabella Vahani, and Joanne has participated in many of the songs for Isabella Nights. And it's going to be an extraordinary evening, so I do hope people turn out for that. The following night, also at the M Bar, is going to be, and the Quinn Johnson Trio. Quinn Johnson is an extraordinary musician. His day job is he's musical director for Steve Terrell. He also is the pianist for the Claire Fisher Band, which just won the Grammy for Latin Jazz album. And we're doing an evening with Quinn, who also has played extensively with Joanne. He did
He's
the
great.
Soundtrack New York show when we did it earlier in the year here. And Lauren White is going to be in that, and Karen Benjamin and Alan Chapman. And Mr. Todd Murray is going to be performing in that evening, September 29th. Now, Mr. Todd Murray, as some of you may know, is the landlord here at the Global Voice Broadcasting. So really happy to have him come out and sing. And then that brings us to October 3rd and 4th and October 10th and 11th at the CAFE CARLYLE, Joanne Tatham's Soundtrack New York, music from movies made in Manhattan. I also have a little segment here I call Also Playing Around Town, which is some shows that I personally am not producing, but I want you to know about them. This particular segment I'm devoting to the date September 15th this coming week, because everybody in town has got competing shows that night, unfortunately, because some great shows are happening. Katie Segal, the great Katie Segal, Kate the Great. I've had the enormous pleasure over the last 5 or 6 years of producing Katie's band. And now she's doing a new rock tour with a lot of the actors from Sons of Anarchy that's been touring all over the country. And they're going to do it in L.A. on September 15th at the El Rey. So you got to catch that. Or if you're more of a jazz mind, our good friend Mark Winkler, who is a wonderful songwriter, producer, singer, jazz artist, has a show with Cheryl Benteen, known from the Manhattan Transfer, but one of the most amazing singers you've ever heard in your life, called West Coast Cool. And I actually had a hand in this one. I helped Mark write the narrative that connects all the songs, and very proud of fantastic show, great singers, and that's at Vitello's, Jazz Upstairs at Vitello's. And then also Julie Esposito, a wonderful singer, is doing her show, Open Your Window, it's called Open Your Window at my MAME references are coming in. My cabaret side is showing. Open Your Window is at Catalina's on Sunday, September 15th. All right. And then the last thing of this segment that I want to tell you about is the theatrical community, cabaret community, lost our patron saint of sheet music, Rick Starr, earlier in the year, and we're going to have a mega memorial for him at the El Portal Theater on October 6th. October 6th at 5 o'clock. And he was a very, very dear soul. Joanne and I spent several days visiting him at very fragile times, and the meaningful memories that we have together. But I hope everybody turns out for that on October 6th. All right, so now back to our discussion. Let's get back to your Christmas CD. Actually, let me play a little clip of it. For this is a song that I guess let's start by saying it was featured in the background on How I Met Your Mother.
Yes.
Then we'll play it, then we'll talk about that. Okay?
Snow on the ground, a snap in the air, and always the sound of sleigh bells everywhere. It may be a dream, but I still believe in Christmas. There's a tree full of light and gifts on their way. There's a man dressed in red who'll be busy that day. Silly as it seems, I still believe in Christmas. I get older and wiser, but the kid in me believes. Year after year, I think I hear footsteps on the eaves.
I still believe it. It's so bouncy. It's so catchy.
Yeah, that is about as pop as I get. That
the rest of the album's
kind
not.
It's
very
kind of
different.
poppy. It was, it was written and recorded expressly for the purposes of placement. And it wound up in How I Met Your Mother.
So I have 10 things I want to say at once, so let me just get started. First of all, I was looking through YouTube clips to find some of the things that I'm showing, and I don't know if you even know this, but there's a comment on that YouTube clip where some guy goes, "I love this song. Where can I find it?" It was so cute.
Yeah. Well, doesn't it pop up? Isn't
It
there a
does.
pop
There
up
is
on
an
YouTube
iTunes.
that says it's available on iTunes?
But not all of. There's a
which
couple
it
of
is.
different versions. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so but the album, just so you know, is actually more jazz influenced kind
Yes.
of takes.
Absolutely.
Mostly. But so how did it get onto How I Met Your Mother?
I just don't know.
Huh?
No,
Okay.
really. If you would think it wasn't. Yes, my husband is a writer, producer, executive producer on How I
But
Met
that
Your
didn't
Mother.
have the clout that we
It
wanted
actually,
it to.
if it, I would have far more stuff in there if it were only that easy.
Absolutely.
But it was nice. It was really nice to have it come together.
So, which brings us to our Mr. Tatham is actually an extraordinary man. So fun. Can you tell that little anecdote about that thing in the New York, his moment in TV history?
Oh,
That's just so funny.
Oh, well, he is a writer on How I Met Your Mother, and you may know that it was at the conclusion. It was the series finale of last year where they introduced who is the mother, because they're going
Right.
into their final season, and the scene was written such that on a line in a train station, someone was buying a ticket and would step aside to reveal finally our first review of the mother, and that person who stepped aside to reveal the mother was in fact my husband, Chuck Tatham. And he wrote a little, he is often published in the New York Times and different
So he,
publications, and in this one he was in the New Yorker, on the New Yorker online for
Right.
he had written who
is
this
Chuck
Tatham
Tatham?
who
He's
stepped
available
aside.
for interviews now. That's hilarious.
Right.
And speaking of which, that leads us to our next clip. Wonderful song. I don't know how much we need to say about it in advance because the clip will probably do it. So let's play the clip and then we'll talk after.
You make me laugh when I'm about to burst. The day has been the worst, and I can only sit and stew while you got a smile that always brings a smile, and that is halfway to a grin. Let the grin begin, precluding the mood I'm in. You should have been on David Letterman's staff, 'cause you make me laugh. And no matter the joy that we know in this night, there also will be tears. I can't think of anyone else who could soothe my fears, not these fears. And so I'm thunderstruck at my colossal luck. I always knew the one who won my heart would be funny and smart. Double duty, my sides are good and sore from rolling on the floor. And oh, there's one thing more. You make me laugh. The man who wrote that song, a very dear friend to many of us here, the very talented Shelley Markham, could have written this song just for me. He didn't, but he could have. What with my professional funny man husband, professional funny man, yes, I believe that's what it says on the tax return. Chuck can't be here tonight, but he always likes when I do this song. And Shelley likes when I do it too, because as my husband would say, ka-ching. And no matter the joy that we know in this life, there also will be tears.
There also will be
You know, I can hear Rick's
tears.
laugh in
I
the background.
could
of
too.
That. Yeah.
That's so
you know, did I
sweet
tell
that
you
you
I
say
have
that.
2 messages from him on my machine at home. I didn't know that I had them until like this week, because it was the day that I was doing the open at Catalina, the new show at Catalina's, and it was so weird not having him there because
Right.
he was in decline at this point. But he didn't miss. He never missed, and he left me a beautiful message.
Yeah, I remember there was a lot of discussion around. It was June 6th, I recall.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of discussion about him wanting to try to get there, and up to the last minute, he just said, "Oh, I can't." But he wanted to be there, for sure. All right, well, I'm going to use that last clip, "You Make Me Laugh," as our segue to the last classified section, another opportunity to promote a few things. First of all, the gentleman that wrote that song that Joanne referred to is Shelley Markham, wonderful Shelley Markham, who is the main collaborator of the great Andrea Marcovici, and they actually will be my in-studio guests on September 23rd. But Shelley has just released his own first CD as a composer and a performer, which he's never done before. This is his debut CD, and he's going to be doing a CD release party for that in New York in November, so check that out. And then also, I just wanted to take an opportunity to promote my club that I love to work in all the time, the M Bar in Hollywood. I call that my living room. I do a lot of my shows at the M Bar. And then also, one of the mainstays of what keeps us all going is the Hollywood sheet music. I call it the Petticoat Junction of the cabaret community, Hollywood sheet music. So check that out if you need sheet music. Now, Joanne, so back to our subject of jazz and cabaret and the increasing merging of the worlds. You were just talking about the covers of the Cabaret Scenes magazine.
Yes,
that's
Cabaret.
interesting.
Yes, the last two cover girls on Cabaret Scenes have been, well, this time it's Jane Monheit.
Right.
Fabulous
Wonderful
jazz singer.
Jane.
Just loved Jane. And before that, Hillary Cole, another singer who is in the jazz idiom. And I can't remember another time. I mean, I can't remember how long it's been since there's been a jazz. So there is a growing tent in the cabaret world.
Well, you know, I do feel that you are on the vanguard of that discussion. And I think that your new show, Soundtrack New York, Music from Movies Made in Manhattan, is so representative of what the discussion is, because one of the things that we worked on together, putting it together, is you engage the services of some of the very, very best arrangers in the business, as far as I know. Tamir, the great Tamir Handelman, who is
Tamir has done a number of charts.
He did
for
most
that,
of
and
them. Eli did a couple. Brad Ellis, the wonderful Brad
Right.
Ellis, who was my very first guest. Peter Smith, also a jazz pianist of great acclaim.
And the thing I love about this show is that I wasn't restricted because of the theme. It's basically music that came from movies that were actually shot in New York, on the streets of New York. And there are a great number of them that had a lot of wonderful songs with wonderful writers, but it spans, 30 or 40 years. So I'm not really restricted to any particular genre or composer or writer. And so there's a whole bunch of things, and a lot of the music lent itself to jazzy interpretation. I mean, we have a Peter Nero tune that Eli arranged, which is in itself jazzy. We have a lot of
Henry Mancini,
who was of the jazz world as well as Great American Songbooks. You know, now that I think of it, a lot of people, Leonard Bernstein's West Side Story, and Tamir came up with a really, really nice tasty jazz arrangement on Cool.
But, you know, we could spend an hour just discussing this particular show and how the arrangements are so jazzy, although it keeps the traditions of what a cabaret show is, because there is a very intelligent narrative that talks about your point of view as a film buff, your point of view as a New Yorker who moved to Los Angeles, and
because I really would like to integrate both of those things. I know, I came from the musical theater, and so I have a kind of a story and a narrative. It's sort of hardwired through me. I've also had the experience of doing sets, jazz sets, where you show up and you do a set, and there is really no connective tissue, and you can even change the order as you go through. You can call something on the stand, and you're there, you're doing it.
Right.
And I want to do a hybrid. I want to do a hybrid that has the approach to the music harmonically and through swing and improvisation and harmonic arrangements that call on the jazz sort of modalities and chordings and to link it through a story.
Right, and one of the things that I find so interesting about the subject of jazz and cabaret, and specifically what you've achieved with this show, is that there's a lot of very popular, iconic kind of songs that you would want to hear when you bring up movie musical, but there's also really obscure things that you found. Some
was
songs.
The fun.
And, and I think it's the lacing between the totally obscure stuff that people would not have known next to giving the people what they want with something like a touch of Don't Rain on My Parade or a touch of New York
It
start
fell
spreading
together
the
so
news.
beautifully because
You know?
I'm a film buff. I mean, I just love this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of songs swimming in my head that I wanted to do, and I suddenly realized one day, there's something connecting these tunes,
Right.
and they're from
Right.
movies.
Rarely
New
will
York
you
movies.
hear Ghostbusters side by side with Everybody's Talking from Midnight Cowboy, but it really is an extraordinary musical experience, I think. I'm extremely proud of having worked on it and extremely excited about its future. Extremely excited about its future at the Carlyle. One of the songs that we've unearthed was from Working Girl. Why don't you set that up and we'll
of
show a little
course.
clip.
Well, most people actually who I will tell what I'm doing, people will say, "You doing Working Girl, the thing, the River
Really?
Run?" I said, yes, in fact I am, and
Not usually found in nightclub acts, I wouldn't
no,
think.
because it tends toward the more I guess poppy end of the spectrum. There are
Mm-hmm.
some things, and we had this discussion. There were things that lent itself to a reimagining, a reinterpretation,
Mm-hmm.
and we came at it wanting to bring something new to the arrangement. There are some songs that we found were just more satisfying when they were done clean, as
Right.
you remember them, as you've heard them. And I think this was one of them.
And one of the very interesting takes that you brought to this as a writer, writing the narrative, was an examination of when you're starting to look at films throughout decades of film growth, you saw the changing roles of women's lives. And there's an arc within the show about
Right.
how
It's a little
women's lives
mini
were
arc.
Evolved. And
It just seemed
Working
so
Girl-
obvious to me when I started to pull all of these songs together,
Yeah.
what they said about the woman's
Yeah,
condition.
so what was going on with Melanie Griffith in the movie Working Girl was the evolution that began with Hope Lang in The Best of Everything.
Right, which is a great song. I mean,
Yeah.
these are all good songs. There was so much rich material available within this context that it was very easy to choose good songs. So this is just really good music.
So
too.
let's hear a little bit of Working Girl.
We're coming to the edge, running on the water, coming through the fog, your sons and daughters. Let the river run, let all the dreamers wake the nation. Come, the new Jerusalem. Silver cities rise, the morning lights, the streets that lead them, and sirens call them on with a song. It's asking for the taking, trembling, shaking. Oh, my heart is aching. We're coming to the edge, running on the water, coming through the fog, you sons and daughters. Let the river run, let all the
That's a great Quinn Johnson
That's so-
arrangement. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's got it
so great.
put it together.
Well, I think we're coming into that's as much time as we have. Thank you so much. I know it just goes in the blip of an eye,
know.
doesn't it? Thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure.
And I want to wish you a happy anniversary for our anniversary, because it's the last performance, the fourth performance of the Carlyle on October 10th will be the 4-year anniversary of when we sat down for our long lunch to decide to do stuff together. So we're doing good, girl, I think.
don't know how you keep this all in
I'm
your
very
head.
anniversary
I
oriented.
can't remember my own name.
I wanted thank you so much for being here, and thank you for all the great stuff we've done together.
Thank you, Clifford.
My wonderful associate producer, Trisha Trippett, the proprietor of Global Voice Broadcasting, the great artist Todd Murray, and my hero here, Mr. Gabe Harder. Can't get past that name. The office manager of Global Voice Broadcasting, and my in-studio engineer. I'm going to let Joanne take us out with a little bit with the ending of that beautiful song, You Taught My Heart to Sing, by Sammy Kahn and McCoy Tyner. Thank you all. See you next week.
You're what I'll keep remembering. You taught my heart to see. You taught my heart to see. Thank you very much.
And so it seems that we have met before and laughed before and loved before, but who knows
Thinking about how cool it would be to host your own show just like this one? Well, Global Voice Broadcasting can make it happen. Whether you are in the Hollywood area and can take advantage of our state-of-the-art studio, or want to broadcast from the comfort of your own home, GVB will take care of the technical stuff so you can do what you do best. Host a show that's all about you and your passion. Whether it's music, self-help, inspiration, or entertainment, you are welcome at GVB. Just drop us a line at info@gvbradio.com. Again, that's info@gvbradio.com. We'll show you how easy and crazy affordable it is to have a professional show with great sound and HD video quality. Come to the GVB family and get started today. Global Voice Broadcasting. Planet Earth is listening.